love the fact that you're creating this piece or this film, and there is actually that hands-on attention paid to every frame. Like, every frame doesn't necessarily look as glorious as you'd like, but it's just that, it's the process. I think there's a real sort of, the more I do of it, the more you get that sort of, there's a real sort of joy and lunacy at the same time of drawing a film frame by frame, and the fact that you can actually, do whatever you like.
Any sort of animation, it's fun being able to create a world, or create your own universe. But the hand-drawn stuff has just a sort of a warmth, a humanity that is just nice to be immersed in, I guess. I actually made my first animated film when I was about 15. It was an awful thing. I discovered it recently. At the time, I thought it was fantastic. Back in the day, at that point in time, it was Super 8. So it was, and you didn't get to see any of it, of course, until it was processed. And it was way ahead of its time. It was a plasticine character sitting on a drawn background, and it was all about material possessions. And this little character gets crushed by the weight of his material possessions, then rejects them all. Quite a heavy little.
Very profound.
It was quite a heavy little piece, really awfully executed. It had quite a nice idea, and it just looked like utter crap. That was my first animated film, and then I didn't return to animation for 20 years. So I was actually already fairly elderly by the time I got back into animation. And I had been playing in bands for a long time and doing music, and I studied fine art, so I guess my background was more printmaking. I went to study it thinking it was a good way to amalgamate my interests, I guess, sound and vision. So that's how I got into it. In terms of the missing key, I was kind of interested in two characters that were both trying to create, were both striving to create something with, very different directives, and that maybe I have a kind of, not moralistic, but a belief that, you should create something because you're drawn to do it. And that's all, That's,
excuse the pun.
Yeah. You're driven to.
Sorry.
In the case of the main character, he ends up creating something that's simple and beautiful, whereas this guy who's all about technique and some big glamorous effect actually loses. But I also think, in retrospect, that it is quite autobiographical, and I am personally both of those people, or possibly more the evil guy that just wants fame and wealth and has a telephone for a head. That's actually, I'm probably more him. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Or maybe a bit of both. Yeah. I've noticed actually the sort of duration of the production has appeared. Someone said recently, I've heard 5 years, 7 years. It's actually more like about 8 years from the initial idea. But I think the other thing too that became apparent the further along was that we developed this very complicated sort of methodology, which really paid for in a big way. Sort of in the last couple of years were just ridiculous in terms of the amount of time required just to try and match the look and to keep up with this ridiculous sort of character design in terms of it was 2D animation, but for some reason I decided we'd have colour palettes of like 40 colours. There was 3 lots of shade in the bodies instead of just light, and it was like sometimes 4. Stuff that you don't necessarily see either. The payoff was not
fingernails
as good as it could have been. Fingernail highlights, just it's absurd, really. I mean, I was in quite a fortunate position in a way that I had the production company were very lenient in terms of me taking the time I needed to develop it, but eventually it just was unworkable. I had a kid, which made a big difference in terms of working at home. Everything changed really dramatically once I moved to this little office here, and then once we got other people involved. So Shane Ingram, who's a 3D guy, moved up to Sydney and started working full time. And then really the process just improved, the more people that got involved. So once Brendan came on board, and Sharon, who did a lot of the ink and paint. I was thinking about this just recently, that I do feel really lucky in that sense. I mean, that I had the opportunity for the last X number of years to work on this film, but I don't think I ever woke up, having to go to work thinking, oh God, if I would have to say on a daily basis, I'd be really excited to get to work, to get, to immerse myself in that world. I think it's, it's just great fun creating, making something come to life. It's endlessly fascinating. It's even just, putting 3 or 4 shots together in a little sequence that you're working on and seeing it starting to live is, it's invigorating.
You can see I can see in the film at least, that animation is quite basic in some areas, and I can actually see my improvement. But in my animation, I can see the improvement over the years, and as I got better at it, you get better at sort of preempting what's happening, and you just enjoy it. It becomes a lot more relaxing to do. You're not sort of worried about getting all the line work right, and there's less stuff to think about and more stuff to enjoy. And as it went along too, just being part of such a monumental and such a beautiful project, and like going to see it in Sydney, that, like I said, that was the first time I'd seen the film in its entirety as a finished thing, and I was quite nervous, but just to get to the end of that film, and I don't want to sound arrogant or something, but it was just gobsmacking, and to be able to say, yeah, like I had a part in that, and just the joy and the beauty of it is what I love, and that's what this project embodies. So I came out after the premiere, it was so euphoric, and just makes me want to do more. I don't know whether we'll be allowed to do a project like this again, but
unlikely.
but at least to have been through that process and at least have one on the board that's like this is, I love it.